Last night we had a Zoom call with about 9 or 10 people that race regularly in the Northern California slot car racing scene. We discussed possible class changes and new classes for 2024 and some other issues that are pertinent to Northern California.
Anyway, thanks everybody for showing up tonight. And I've got a really fairly short presentation, and then we can talk about what we're going to do going forward for next year. And we had a real big wrinkle thrown into it yesterday, but we'll go from there. And we're not going to decide anything tonight. I'm just going to throw out some ideas. Some of them are already in place, like the legends and the Riva slots. Some of them are ongoing, but I'm not going to make any decisions on what I have control over the commercial track. So let me pull this up and we'll go from there. Okay, we're looking forward to 2024. 2023 was pretty good. And, the racing has been phenomenal, almost to the point where there's too much of it in some cases, but it's going good. I'm first going to talk about the commercial tracks. Group C, and again, we're not going to decide anything tonight. We're just throwing out some ideas that have been kicked around by me and other people. So one is allowing Group C basically to go to Electric Dreams rules. Open gears, open wheels. We already have open tires. So that's one thing to think about. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or if anybody wants it to happen. And like I said, we're not going to make any decisions tonight. So if you have any comments on these, you can either talk now or we can talk offline, or we can talk going forward when we go to the races. So that's Group C. NSRF1, we've talked about allowing the scale auto car in the past, so that's a possibility. GT3, this is an idea that I have, and it's to make these big bulky cars like that one there, the BMW, the Lexus, the Bentley, and coming forward we'll have the BMW M4 and the Mustang, making it more competitive. I don't know whether it would work or not, but that's just an idea that I have. Let's say on the sedan-like cars, and we would decide beforehand. These cars specifically are the only ones to be allowed Lexan interiors if we do that. Group 5, I don't think we need to change anything that I can think of. It's going really well. Everybody likes it. They run good on all the tracks. They're fast. They're a little bit faster on most. Well, they are faster lap time wise on every track that we've gone to than a Group C, and fairly close to a GT. I know a 10 round, I think, is 6.8 at fast tracks, and we're running 6.7s with the GT3 cars. So not a whole lot of difference in speed. They're mellower because they don't have that really torquey long can motor. It's the flat 6 motor, so it's a little bit different, and I think it's a little bit easier to drive. We could talk about going to open gears on these cars, but that's another thing. So that is one possibility. The new classes that have kind of been introduced already and starting to run, I know Paul's going to have a series for this. And so we're going to have this in a few classes. I just got one. Mike's got one. Mario's got one. So it looks like this is going to go forward with the Riva Slot Group Cs, as well as the Pioneer Legends. So that's another class that Paul is actually the one that's been working on this one. And he's talked to, is it Great Plains that's the distributor? So he's talking to them, and there's prizes and things like that in the works for a series with those cars. And if you're not familiar with them, with the Riva Slot Group 2, we're talking about the sedans. And there's presently 4. The Alpha, the Escort, the BMW, the Opel. There's a Datsun 510 that's been announced. And theoretically, I think they said December. So 4 available currently, and one that will probably be really popular, the Datsun 510. And they're all a little different. They're just like Group C. Some of them are a little shorter, some of them a little longer, so they don't share a chassis or anything like that between the different makes. The Alpha is the smallest. The BMW is the longest. The Escort's kind of in the middle. I don't know where the Opel is, and we won't know about the Datsun until it comes out. The Legends, there are 3 of them, and I don't know if these use exactly the same chassis or not, but they're pretty much the same chassis. But there's 3 of them. There's a Ford, a Chevy, and a Dodge. So going forward with these, obviously we've got to figure out how to run these. And so the rules have kind of been set by Paul and some of the other people, because they're the ones that kind of started this. You look at the Alpha, the Escort, everything else, the Regal slots. This is going to be pretty much an out-of-the-box class. The cars come with a wood guide, so they come with 2 guides, so you can put the wood guide in. Don't need, or you're not going to be allowed to change it. It has to be the stock guide. And the question are, as of now, I think this is set up to be strictly out of the box. No mods at all. I have been discussing amongst the people whether we should allow open tires in the back, because that's going to be really hard to tech if you're running stock tires. And the Regal slots, if you're not familiar with them, they use a specific rubber with a different kind of mounting system. So nothing else fits on it but Regal slot. But they do make, I think, 2 or 3 compounds for the rear of these cars. So that's a possibility. I would prefer it to say stock tires, but again, it's a question of you can't tech it. So the age-old question is that guy beating me because he's cheating. So that's something we would have to figure out and decide on before we start this. Ballast. The cars run fine as is. I don't see a need for ballast. But again, I'm not sure if we need to limit ballast. So those are the 2 things that come in mind to me as far as what we can and can't do with these cars. They're great right out of the box. I ran mine at Mario's. If you set the gear mesh and get everything the way it should be, they run really nice and really smooth. They slide well. They just handle really well. They're not a Group C car by any means, but because of the aluminum chassis, it's kind of heavy. These are Lexan interiors, so they've kept the center of gravity fairly low as a sedan goes, and they run just great right out of the box. So it's going to be, I think, a really good class to run, especially on the small tracks. I have no desire, need, or see any reason why we would run these on the commercial track. I think they're just too small, and there's no point to that. The Legends, Paul has set these rules up, which he got from, again, I forget the name of the distributor, but the distributor has a national class for these. And so he went pretty much by what they say. You can change the guide. You can change the wheels to aluminum wheels of the same size. No air wheels. They have to be the Staff's wheels and the CB Design wheels. They make some really pretty wheels. So a lot of people like to put the Staff's wheels on because it really dresses them up a little bit. And they're aluminum and they're set screw as opposed to just the plastic like all the Pioneers have. You can change the axles on that because of that. And you are required to maintain the stock tires, and the stock tires here have markings on them. So it should be relatively easy to tech because I think most of them are Hoosier. I think there's a couple Goodyears or a lot of them are Goodrich, BF Goodrich. So they have markings on them. So you're going to have to maintain, and you're not allowed to narrow these tires. They have to run as is other than truing. So that will make sure that those markings on the sidewalls remain, and we can know that that's a legal tire. Gear ratios are stock, but you can change gears. So pretty much to set one of these cars up, you get the slotted gears, same ratio, or 1232, I think. But at any rate, you can use the slotted gears of the same ratio, put in aluminum, better axles, and change the wheels, and you're ready to go. And ballast is allowed in this class. So that's pretty much the way that the national rules are, with the exception of we're running the stock tires, they run silicone tires, and we're not going to do that. So again, this is a great class for the smaller tracks. Be totally useless, I think, to try to run this at Motown or at Fast Track. So this is a club classes for 24. So those are the 2 that I've got, and we've talked about and are actually in the works. There may be others as well. But the new wrinkle that was thrown into this just yesterday, this is the new wrinkle. Anybody want to buy a racetrack? I have not talked to Gene. I don't know what the future is, but it is for sale. So I don't know if that means if he doesn't find a buyer, it will cease to exist, or what. So if anybody wants to buy a racetrack, Gene and Jennifer have supported us tremendously in the last year and a half or so. So I hate to see this happen, but it's a reality. They've decided for whatever reason, and I don't know because I haven't talked to them, but to get out of the business, and they put this on Facebook, so it's not a secret thing, and so the track is for sale. So if anybody wants to pony up and buy a racetrack, now is your chance. Built-in customers.
I thought they wanted to sell the whole business.
Well, I think
do.
they do, yeah.
The Raceway.
Okay,
Yeah.
They may split things up if it doesn't go that way, but
Yeah, if I said tracks, I meant the track, I meant the raceway, not just a track.
right,
So
the whole
yeah.
Yeah,
business.
I can add a little context to this if
Sure.
you want, Jim.
Yep.
So
Let me get out of here so we can see you. And
oh, why do you need that? You don't need that. Uh, um, so Herman and I stopped by there on Saturday for a bit, and Gene told us literally as we were walking out the door. And I think his ideal, that what I got from him was that his ideal scenario is that someone picks up where he's left off. They continue running the programs. He said that he would even love to be there and support the programs, build cars, work on cars. I think his exact words were that he's been, supporting the track for basically working weekends for 10 years. And he just really wants to spend a lot more time with his family. And I think that we can all appreciate that. So I think what I gathered, again, just to say that again, is that he wants to continue. He wants to see the track continue. But obviously, if there's no buyer at any point, that sort of changes things. But there's no time frame here. It's sort of just he's in a super locked in, safe month-to-month lease. I mean, as much as it can't be safe, but he's in a really good month-to-month lease. He's not in a hurry. He just is kind of like wanting to get the stuff in motion. That's it.
I did talk to Marco and tried to talk him into Electric Dreams North, but that didn't go anywhere. It's not in a big enough population base, I think. I mean, that would be a realistic possibility, but I don't think it's in a big enough population base to primarily concentrate on 32nd scale or whatever. So we wish them the best if they happen to be hearing this at any point in time. Glad for you if that's the reason. Obviously, that is, spend time with the family. That's a great reason. So we wish you all well and appreciate everything you've done for us here in the last year and a half. That's it from me. Anybody want to talk about anything that I discussed, or we'll go from there? Let's start with Mike Andrews because he's a track owner. Any comments or suggestions or anything else, or where you're going as we go forward in 2024?
No changes here. Then we got a good bunch of cars. Good program. We're getting good turnouts. Not going to change much. Maybe finagle in those GT or the Group 2 cars. And the Legends. Yes, Legends are good. That'll be like a traveling series. I'd run a race here for sure. Not everybody has to get on board with that. But I'll be definitely keen on doing the Legends series here if it happens. But yeah, just no changes. I think we're going pretty good.
Mike's been doing some traveling. He's shown up at Mario's 2 weekends in a row, and that's
Yeah.
Well, the way Mike drives, it's about a 50-minute drive, but for me, it's about 2.5 hours.
A couple of road rage incidents, but it all ended up pretty good. No, everybody was driving on the road pretty good on the weekends both times. I didn't have any road rage incidents with anybody. I was impressed.
I don't know who that is.
Looking to change anything drastically, I don't think.
So sounds good. How about you, Gary? You're the closest track to Mike.
I think everything's been going really well so far. For next year, I see the Alpha, the Revo slots are a lot of fun. I bought the Alpha and actually enjoy it. Took a little while to get the tires to break in. They were kind of hard and noisy, but they softened up with some oil on them, and after running them for a while, the car really does handle well. I tried ballast shifts in it, and it didn't seem to help at all. It's got a pretty low center of gravity and works well with no weight at all. So just the wood guide that came with it and glue and true, and you're ready to go pretty much. The gear ratio, like you said, is the critical thing, just getting that motor angle just right. You can play with that for a while.
Another thing I didn't mention, if you're not familiar with the Revo slots, some of the Escorts were shipped with 12-tooth pinions by mistake. They were assembled incorrectly at the factory. All these cars have to have a 9-tooth pinion. If you're going to order one, from whoever, I would contact them before they ship it out and make sure that either has a 9-tooth pinion or they include the 9-tooth pinion with it.
It's a good little car. It's like 3/10 slower than a Group C car.
You would think they'd be you'd think they'd be like a Scale Electrics car almost, but
I
they're
think
not.
they'd be really slow, but they're not. They run quite well. They handle well, even with that little skinny 8mm tire on there.
It's a little bitty tire and wheel too. If you haven't seen
It-
one, they're much
Really
smaller
are.
than anything we run.
I bought a Legends car as well, so I could work on that and start getting it ready and could participate if we move forward in that class. So I know Michael had some, and they were fun to drive. I ran one over at his track, and I was like, oh, these things are actually kind of a kick. So I did buy one. I was down at Electric Dreams and stopped in and got the tour down there from Marco while I was down there, and he let me borrow a car and a controller and play around for a little while I was there before I went to the airport. So it was Marco's a nice guy, huge facility, pretty awesome. Track was fun. First time I'd seen it, in other than on a video, watching the champ fly around there.
Yeah, there's not much like it. I mean, the track in Tacoma is similar because he's a distributor also, and they have a 6-lane and an 8-lane track.
Oh wow!
You don't hear much from them. They just kind of do local races, and that's about it. And he is the Regal Slot distributor also. But
Gary, you said the champ was down there. How many freaking times does Ian go down there, man?
Oh no! When I watched his video from when he was down there.
You should talk to Herman about that. Herman's in the drivers' points championship.
Oh really?
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So anyway, thanks, Gary. Let's go.
Well, I had one more thing I wanted to say. I talking about next year. I was just thinking, tossing around the idea maybe we could do an IROC series with everybody buying the same manufacturer car and the same model car, so there's no differences at all. Everybody has the exact same car by the same manufacturer.
We kind of have that in F1.
Well, kind of.
I mean, that is a spec series, a spec car. There's no differences in the cars.
Yeah, I was thinking something with a full body on it.
Think of a good one, and we can talk about that and go from there and figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, anything
You're
in mind
almost-
right offhand, or just
We're almost there with Revo Slot, just running it box stock out of the package. Just if we all ran the same model.
yeah, they are different because the Alpha is shorter, the BMW is longer. The Alpha is also the widest and the shortest, so it's a little short, wide thing. Whereas the BMW is long and narrow, and the Escort's kind of in between. And I don't know about the other two. So it's kind of like Group C in that the cars have different dimensions.
Right. That's why I was thinking maybe an IROC with all the same cars. Just something to think about.
I know what Mike wants. He wants the A-Barths.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
They're all the same. I think if you stick with that one A-Barth, not the variations.
Right.
So,
Pay it 500.
yep. Let's go to Ted.
Well, I don't have a lot to add. I am pleased to see the diversification of the classes that you're adding. I think those are really well suited for the home tracks, and as you say, not so much for the commercial raceways. And I like that trend. I saw them running at Mario's on Saturday, and boy, they were a lot of fun. You guys were getting around the track really well with those. I was impressed. I think they'll be a good addition to the lineup.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those are Trans Am, basically the 2.5 Trans Am challenge. So what I was thinking here is Tuesday night Trans Am at Ted's.
There you go. I like it. Every other week when we don't run at Sean's.
Or every week. We just forget about Sean's. No, Sean. Sean is what, about 10 miles from you or less, and he runs HO on his track every other Tuesday night.
In fact, we missed you last night, Jim.
Yeah, I just couldn't make it. I will make the next race in 2 weeks.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's really about it for me. I think the choices are very good, and I like to see the diversification, getting away from the Group C and all the sedan vehicles. These are a nice change.
Yeah,
like
and like you mentioned too, I don't think, there's not going to be any change to the commercial track classes. That's going to stay the same for quite a while. just because of those cars seem to work there, and the people that go there, a lot of them don't go to home tracks, and they're not going to want to buy 15 cars or 8 classes or 6 classes. So that'll stay the same.
Are you sure about that? I mean, have you asked those people?
More or less, yeah. There may be some exceptions, but I think quite a few of them they go to fast tracks or they go to Motown, and that's the only place they go. So we've tried to get, there's exceptions like Frankie goes to different tracks. Rhonda and Richard are on here, but they've only been to the one track. John Wilbur's only been to the one track. There's 2 or 3 locals from fast tracks that's all they go, except some of them now have gone to Ted's, but for the most part, they're not going anywhere else. So, like I said, nothing set in stone. I'm not saying I'm right on any of this stuff. So we just throw their discussion points out. Mario, I think you're the only other track owner here. So anything from you?
Nothing really new. I got something in the works, probably going to be starting something either February or March. You guys all know that I ran the 12.5 challenge this year. So I'm putting something together. I will be having some prizes next year for this new challenge that I want to do. So I just got to put everything together and stay tuned for the details on that one.
Did you say surprises or some prizes?
Some prizes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Mike.
I'd just like to say I'd like to see everybody have a car for the classes that we run. Just to support the whole shebang, I know it's a lot of expense, but if everybody stepped up and they all bought the cars for the classes, that'd be great. I think make things a lot more easier or smoother. I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think it'd be good.
Well, I think I don't disagree with you. And I think what's helped that, back when we started this, or, back when it was Nate and Mike, pretty much the only tracks around, we run these 4 cars this month, these 4 cars this month, these 4 cars this month. So I think what Mike's done and everybody else, I think to an extent, is if you run the classes for 3 to 4 months in a row, it's not like somebody that's new, like Ken. Ken's fairly new to this stuff. You buy one car and you don't race it for 5 months. So if you get a series, you buy a car and you race it for 3 or 4 races. And
right.
If we go on to something else, that's something we have to do if we're going to run more than 4 classes. So, but it's not like you buy a car and you only race it for one time.
Yeah.
4 or 5 months before you pull it out of the box again. So I think having that continuity at all the tracks has helped quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like you say, you get to use it more than once, and you get to learn something about it. You get to dial it in a bit better and improve, car building skills with like those box cars that are a nightmare to drive, which we'll be driving on the Halloween endurance race. It just improves your skills. It's easier to make one of these fast cars go faster. That's easy, but it's hard to make a slow car go fast. And there's some basic things we can share with everybody how to do it. But yeah, I'd like to see everybody have their own equipment and run it. Just to be, I don't know, invested in the whole gig.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have someone like Ian borrow a car and win. That's always, oh yeah, that's awesome. Car must be good. But it'd be good to see Ian build his own car. Instead of just borrowing cars. I know it's a little bit of an investment, and whether it's feasible for Ian to do that or other racers to do that, I don't know. But you learn something different from building a car that doesn't go very good to make it go decent,
So that's where the tough part comes in. Whether it's somebody that doesn't have that car, or like Ken, who is fairly new, is to have all the cars. It's obviously it's a time and a financial investment to have all the cars.
Yeah, and you're gonna build up to it because you're gonna run the same cars for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we'll maybe change out not all the cars, maybe just change 2 of the cars out for the next 4 weeks. So it keeps some continuity with some cars, you know, and then once those cars have been run for 8 weeks, we'll phase those out, phase in another 2. So you're not getting slammed with, oh, geez, I got to buy Scale Electric box, and then I got to buy Carrera, and then I got to buy this and that, you know. I know it can get kind of expensive, but and not everybody can do it. I understand, you know, but
No
I don't
one
know.
said this hobby was cheap.
It's
Well,
relatively cheap.
you get some deals every now and then. It's just a matter of just chasing the deal, and it's not easy, I know, because slot cars have gone up in price like crazy. You know, it's like, wow, really jumped. For the lower end cars are now in the price of a good car. So I can see the hesitation. Why do I want to buy that Scale Electric for $65? Then for another $10, I can buy an NSR or a Slotted. You know, it's like, why bother? I can see the point.
It's interesting that Carrera has been able to hold the line on pricing. They're still $40 cars, and
The new ones aren't. The new ones are $65 now.
they go up recently.
Yeah. The new ones are all the new models are going up to Scale Electric prices.
Wonder how much. If you haven't heard, that Carrera signed a deal with NASCAR, so they will have NASCAR stock cars next year.
Yeah, I see you're on board with that.
Oh yeah, you saw that. Somebody put it out, and I said, if all they're going to produce is Hendrick,
No way to hell.
count me out. And I got blasted for it, and I sort of deserved it, and I sort of didn't.
You should have stepped right in that one, huh?
I have an issue with Hendrick, and it's a political issue, so we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, you know.
And it's all Chevy, so we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's kind of narrow focused, and I probably wouldn't be into it personally because
Well, Carrera cars are not known as race cars; they're known as toy cars. But they're, for what you get, they're pretty nice cars. They're heavy. They've announced what they're going to build. They're going to build all 4 Hendrick cars for next year.
Yeah.
And they will have 43rd scale and 32nd scale, both analog and digital, and both sets and cars. There will not be any set cars, meaning there's not going to be a car that the only way you can get it is going to be in the set.
Oh, okay.
All the cars will be available separately. And they will have all 4 Hendrick cars. And they've shown the box art, but the president of the company said, don't trust the box art because that's this year's cars. The cars that we produce will be next year's cars, and we don't know what the liveries are going to be.
Yeah, the good old boys are going to let those up, you know, which is fine. You know?
No, I think it's a good thing overall for the hobby. And quite honestly, how could you not, if they're doing one, if they only have the capability to do one car or one group of cars, I can understand why they want Hendrick because Chase Elliott's part of that. And so I can understand why they went with what they did. But I don't care for it personally. But.
Yeah, it's very narrow focused. And you can't please everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think we will go down that road, hopefully. So I've been down that road and it wasn't pretty.
Yeah, I can't see, I personally wouldn't want us racing them until they come out with a more variety of cars where they have at least a Toyota and a Ford to go along with them.
Right, yeah.
So Gary, that could be your IROC.
Could be.
Except they probably won't be out till Christmas of 2024. This is well in the future, but it's a done deal. It's been announced. If you go on Dave Kennedy's website, he sat down with the president or whatever the guy is at Carrera USA, and they had about a half an hour interview, which is why I knew the details that I knew because I watched that this morning. So it's interesting to sit down and listen to him talk about the industry and this and that. And if you really want to get the inside, go on to Dave Kennedy's site, and he did about an hour and a half long Zoom call last week about Carrera and NASCAR and how the inside workings of doing a license. He used to work for Carrera, and he's also worked, I think, for SCX and for Scale Electrics for a while. So he has been on the inside of the hobby industry and has actually dealt with NASCAR trying to get those licenses. So for me personally, I thought it was very interesting him talking about how that worked. And it's about an hour and a half long. So if you want to see it, it's on his YouTube channel. I keep saying websites, but maybe a YouTube channel.
I was gonna say, Gary, you should run the classic NASCAR ones from Carrera. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Or I was even thinking maybe Group C, because the Mazda Nissan cars seem to have dominated Group C. Could even do something like that because it seems like everybody's going with those cars because they've pretty much taken over Group C.
The Nissans have, yeah.
Yeah, the Nissans.
So
Be more fun, I think. They handle a lot better than a NASCAR.
all kinds of
Yeah.
possibilities.
Too easy, Gary. Too easy.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing about this group is the faster guys are always willing to take the new guys or the slower guys under their wing and help them out. I mean, Michael took me in and helped me out and got me to where I'm at now.
That was a mistake.
There was talk about a Mosler class, which could be
Yeah.
a spec class if you spec it. It's this drivetrain.
Yeah,
Right.
Mosler.
I have one.
Not my,
Inline
cup of,
Moslers.
not my cup of tea because it's just another GT3 car with a lighter body on it. But that's a possibility. Is a Mosler
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
I'd like to see a
whether it's
Mosler.
whether it's an angle winder, a side winder, 21, 25, you spec the drivetrain, and so it would basically be a spec class. You have to buy the same one, but there's all kinds of liveries and so forth.
Right.
I like that car.
You can do
Also-
a slotted DTM, Gary.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of possibilities. Just kind of throwing it out there for everybody to think about.
What about
One class we didn't run. We had all the decals for was for the Scaly IROC C class. They came out with the IROC C Camaro. We never got it off the ground, but that seemed like it was like a pretty good class. Something to think about too. Because I know I have mine, and all the guys in in Sacramento, they have their IROC Cs.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
The only issue that I would have with using Scale Electrics or Carrera as a base is there's just so much stuff you've got to do to them. I would rather see a base of an NSR or a Slotted or a Scale Auto or something that's good to start with. But after I said that, a cool little class would be Scale Electrics Minis. But so
no?
yeah, they handle like
Minis and escorts, man.
so there's all kinds of possibilities. Well, the other one that Sacramento has done is the Revo Slot GT2 Porsches, and that was a spec class, and it's a one make class, and so they're all the same. They make hundreds, I think, of liveries. So you could do that. They have Supras. You could do a Revo Slot GT class and spec the car. You have to use the Supra, or you have to use the Porsche or whatever.
Yeah, some of them are getting hard to get. It'd be hard to get a Supra now, I think. But yeah, that'd be.
But you can get the new ones. You can get the new ones. The old ones are expensive, but the new ones, all the Martini
White
ones,
kits. You do white
and
kits.
white kits. Yeah. So one nice thing about Revo Slot also is the cars are usually $90 typically, but the white kits are 65. And so you can get a white kit relatively inexpensively, and it's the same. You just have to put some paint on it.
What color did you paint your Revo Slot?
I haven't done my Escort yet, so I was either going to do British
Green.
Race Candy Lime Green or the Marlboro. I wanted to do the Paul Newman car, but there's nowhere to get decals for it. It'd be simple to do. It's just a blue car with a couple red stripes and semi-generic decals, but it's too.
I had to go to Germany to get this one.
Yeah, I've all heard Commandant. Schultz likes the car.
I couldn't find one anywhere in the US. But the paint
livery?
scheme one.
That livery.
Yeah. Yep. Everybody was sold out.
The Revo Slot Marcos would be an interesting choice too.
I like the Marco suit.
So all kinds of choices.
So actually, Jim, you said something that I want to touch on there in terms of getting people to go to races, because this year was great. We had a lot of racing, as you mentioned, maybe too much racing, which I think is potentially having the effect of people sort of saying, well, if I can only go to one race, I'm going to go to the one close to me, right?
Right.
So is there any way that next year, and this is, I'll just be totally direct, like this is kind of my selfish desire, but it would be, I think, in the interest of all of us, if we had maybe like a series or two series that involved multiple tracks, to where maybe, we charge some entry fees, we get some, little plaques made, we just do something to where there's just like a little something on the line, and maybe that would pull people from different areas. I don't know if people would be willing to do that or not, but it's definitely something I've thought about.
Realistically, how many tracks do we have? We've got Mike's, Gary's, Ed's, and Paul's. I'm not counting Mario because it's a 2-lane track. Doesn't mean we can't do it, but he's limited in space. So if we have a series race and we get 20 people there, he just can't accommodate that. And I'm speaking for him now, but I think he would understand that. So realistically, that's 4 tracks. If you count Motown and fast tracks, that's 6. But are you thinking about maybe doing something if we could get everybody to agree, and that would be the track owners primarily, that let's just as a throwing out it, for instance, the first Saturday of the month is a series race, like we used to have at not NorCal, that's different. At Ian, what am I thinking of here?
IMCA.
IMCA, yeah. That the first Saturday would be a NorCal 32 race at a given location, and everybody stays off that date. Are you thinking maybe something like that?
I mean, I don't necessarily think it involves people staying off that date. I think, I think that the racing program is a lot like capitalism in the fact that like the people will go to what has the most allure, right? So if we build something that has, a good sort of base that people want to be part of, that has like something on the line, maybe there are, prizes by NSR or Slotted or whoever. I think that we could not worry so much about it being on the same day as like someone who wants to run a race that day. And just, sorry, I'm kind of stumbling over my words here. I'm just not so worried about that, but more interested in what you said on the previous end of it, where, we do have just like, maybe 3 tracks, or if there's 6 tracks, that's cool too. And each month we basically have a NorCal 32 race, and it goes to each one.
So kind of what I said, but not. I see what you're saying. Kind of what I said.
It's exactly what you said. It's exactly what you said.
Well, I mentioned the first Saturday, but it doesn't have to necessarily have to be the first Saturday. But
yeah.
So every month there would be a series race, or we throw it out to 6 tracks and give them each one race. And we figure out after we do that what date they're going to be on.
Yeah, I mean, and it could even be the dates that these individuals were already hosting races. So it could be like, if Mike wants to run a race on the second Saturday, we just say that, in March, that second Saturday race at Mike's is a points race, right?
Yeah.
That would be kind of all it would be.
I'm going to end the video here. We went on for about another hour of constructive arguing back and forth about how things should or shouldn't be done with series for next year and so forth. So now you kind of have an idea of the direction NorCal is going to be going in 2024 with classes and other things. So thanks for watching. We'll see you at the races.